Szanowni Państwo, dostojni goście, jest mi niezmiernie miło powitać Państwa drugiego dnia konferencji 10 lat Polski PESA, wczoraj, dziś i jutro organizowanej przez Ministerstwo Rozwoju i Technologii, Polską Agencję Kosmiczną oraz Związek Pracodawców Sektora Kosmicznego. Rok 2022 to szczególny czas dla polskiego sektora kosmicznego. Mija bowiem 10 lat członkostwa Polski w Europejskiej Agencji Kosmicznej. W tym czasie polskie podmioty rozwinęły skrzydła, a Polska zyskała dostęp do infrastruktury naziemnej i kosmicznej oraz współpracuje z kosmicznymi agencjami narodowymi i największymi firmami sektora kosmicznego.
Observatoriums and so on. This time is a very good time to do a short summary, discuss and to set goals for the future. And we will talk about those goals today during the first panel about the future of the space sector in Poland and Europe. I'd like to welcome the director in the Central Transportation Port, Bartosz Sokolinski, to come to the stage and moderate the first discussion.
Dzień dobry.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is also a great pleasure for me to host this first panel. We have fantastic guests. You will hear a little bit about them in a moment, but first a short introduction, because this motto of our conference, so yesterday, today, tomorrow, is very important because it shows us a certain continuity. I've been working in the space sector 6.5 years ago with Michał Szaniawski, who's here, and Paweł Pacek, and I just wanted to say that in fact, well, we came to the Agency of Industrial Development and the space was there already. Somebody set the path already and we just followed it. And then my next managers were also fascinated with space. Dariusz Liwowski, Paweł Kolczyński, they were really fascinated. And the current CEOs are continuing it. Michał and me, we left the Agency of Industrial Development, but the space, once you actually enter the space, you keep it in your heart and in your mind. So I'd like to show my gratitude to Michał for actually bringing me into this subject. So let's move on to the panel. We have huge guests, wonderful guests. We have Minister Kamila Król. Good morning. Well, first I'd like to ask Józef. He will give us a few words of introduction to warm up our audience. We have Grzegorz Wrochna, Izabela Poldrugo. I will introduce everyone. Paweł Wojtkiewicz, and right now I'd like to cordially welcome, and please big round of applause, especially for me, because I am just so stressed. Round of applause for Józef Aschbacher, the most important person in the European space sector industry, Director General of the European Space Agency. And Józef, now the floor is yours.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for, I think I sit down, it's making it a bit more comfortable. So thank you so much for having me here. This is really a very big day for Poland. It's a very big day for ESA. We are celebrating 10 years of Poland in ESA, and this is 10 years of success and 10 years of very good history where we have been working together very intensely, and I really would like to say my great appreciation and thanks to the Polish government, also in particular to Kamila Król being here together with us, and we had a very good discussion already earlier today, but also Mr. Wrochna from Polsa, who is organizing this event here together with us. So this is really a reason to celebrate, and I know yesterday there have been all my directors already here discussing with you and giving presentations of what we have done in the last 10 years. But let me also not only look back what you have achieved so far already, and I can say in a few words that Poland has been really doing an incredibly good job in building up a strong space capability, but also look a bit into the future of where we go from here in the next 10 years, or more, of course, 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 years, or always into the future, and see what the future brings also in space for Poland in particular. But let me just start with maybe a look on what you have done within the ESA context. In 1994, as you know, Poland was signing the cooperation agreement in the field of peaceful use of outer space, which was a very big milestone. And, as you perfectly have been celebrating now, Poland became the 20th ESA member state on the 19th of November 2012, so almost exactly 10 years ago. And this, of course, is a very big milestone. It was a unanimous decision of our member states. All our ESA member states have welcomed Poland in the activities which we have. And this, of course, gave a very strong boost to the Polish space sector, gaining access to vast infrastructure of ESA, which we have in terms of programs, activities, science, but also test laboratories where Poland really can benefit from in order to develop its space technology and space infrastructure. Let me just mention some of these success stories which Poland has achieved over this couple of years. Polish scientists are very well known, world famous for their excellence, and they have contributed to defining and to working on our missions. I mentioned a few examples, Cassini-Huygens, Rosetta, Bepi Colombo, or Solar Orbiter, where your scientific community has been shaping with our other scientists of other member states how the missions should be composed, what sensors should be on board, what they should measure, and of course what the science output would be from these missions. Comet Interceptor, another good example where dust, field and plasma instruments are measured, and where again Poland has been contributing significantly through some of your scientific activities, but also industrial contributions. You're also very good in robotic arm development for servicing and debris removal, something called PIAP, PIAP Space, where the development and testing of the prototype for the future deorbiting and servicing of in-orbit satellites is being developed through a contract which is running through ESA of 2.5 million. Another example, CREO-DIAS. CREO-DIAS is a cloud-based platform to provide a centralized access to Copernicus data. You hear the name Copernicus. I used to be in charge as Director of Earth Observation of Copernicus within ESA. I've developed it together with the European Commission, and I would like to acknowledge the presence of DG DEFIS with us, Copernicus being led today by the European Commission, but with ESA as a very strong implementing partner for developing the space infrastructure and the data access system. And there I have to say Poland is playing a great role, not only giving the name to the program, Copernicus, but also being an active partner, and through this DIAS, the Data Information Access System, where Cloudfero and the Wrocław Institute of Spatial Information and Artificial Intelligence has been the implementing agency for that. This was a contract we have been giving to your industry of 15 million, and now this has multiplied in other countries and has gained world recognition because your expertise of your industry has been exported, has been taken up in Germany, but also other countries. And I'm very proud to say that that Poland is such a great partner in these activities. I'm also very happy to say that we have been helping in this process to succeed. Another example is Euclid, where Sener Polska has delivered the mechanical ground support equipment, cooperating with a network of 18 Polish companies. Euclid, as you know, is a mission that I'm preparing now for launch next year. A very important space science mission which will explore the secrets of our universe, and Poland is very much a part of this. Today, the Polish space sector employs about 12,000 people in over 300 companies. and about half of them are having contracts with ESA. So you have a very diverse landscape of space companies where we also, of course, develop your space industry. Poland is having a GNP within the ESA context, that is the ratio of the Polish economy and the overall context of, compared to all the other ESA member states, of about 2.7%. That is the contribution of the mandatory program. But overall, the Polish contribution is about 1%. And here I would like to really tell you how important space is for Poland, but also how important it is to develop space through ESA programs. And I can only look at the political representatives here to do everything you can to have a very strong subscription at the ESA ministerial, because that is where future space activities are developed, where new programs are shaped, where your national industry is built up, and where your national science and institutional community is benefiting from space. As you know, we have the ministerial conference on the 22nd, 23rd of November in Paris, and I'm very glad to see Mrs. Camilla Kroll representing the delegation of Poland and leading the delegation of Poland in order to really subscribe with all the other member states to a very ambitious package which we have on the table on space. Some of you may ask, and I'm asked this question by the public, by journalists, by politicians, why investing in space in times when it is so difficult economically or through other crises which we have? Yes, we have a crisis. We just came out of the COVID crisis. We have an economic crisis. We have the gas crisis. We have a war in Ukraine. By the way, let me really thank the Polish people for resisting and helping the Ukrainian people in this war. And this is something where Europe is really grateful for the Polish support to the Ukrainian people, also many refugees coming here, and you are opening doors to them. I think that is something that Europe needs, such a strong nation, such a strong country to really help us all together in defending democracy and freedom. But we realize that it is difficult and hard for the economy, but because of the crisis, you also need to realize how important space is in times of crisis to make sure that the space infrastructure, which is used in daily life, in telecommunication, navigation, Earth observation, for agriculture, forestry, ship routing, disaster management, security, that space infrastructure is essential for daily life, and therefore it needs to be reinforced. We need to be more independent from Russia in particular, more autonomous, in order to have a strong society and a strong space sector. And this is really the opportunity which we put on the table at the core of our ministerial package of the ministerial is autonomy, resilience, independence, strong space sector in order to guarantee a quality of life to our people which is necessary, and also to help defending the freedoms of Europe. And I really count on Poland here as a very strong country, because Poland has a good history, has a strong history, and is a very strong partner in the European context, and thank you in advance for that. And investing in space is one way of doing that and of realizing that. So really my plea is to realize the importance of space for people, for citizens, despite the crisis or because of the crisis. Also, space offers inspiration and opportunities to go out of a crisis stronger. As always in the history of big crises, and we had hundreds of them in our histories, the one country that invests in innovation and in technology always comes out of a crisis stronger. And this is something that, of course, you realize. Innovation is, of course, in space, the core of what we do and how we do it. But I'm also saying that I want to make sure that talents and good people are staying in the country, that we offer opportunities for them to realize their projects, their dreams, and their ambitions. And this is something where, of course, we have international competition. The investments in space in the United States, in the private sector and the public sector, in China, in Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, in India, in Japan, and many other countries is going up extremely fast. Actually, if I take the budget of NASA, the increases of the NASA budget are in the order of 20–25% over 3 years, and that's exactly the amount I'm putting on the table at the ministerial in terms of budget compared to 3 years ago. So we want to not lose out compared to the others, because I would like to keep these talents in Europe through European projects and through European opportunities. And this is also something that we have to keep in mind, to keep the best people here, and the best people only stay here if they have interesting, attractive projects to work on. And this is exactly what space is about, to really also give this inspiration and these economic opportunities. And inspiration, we need young people. We need young people to go into space, and this is something where, again, space can be as unique as a motivator and inspirator, and this is something where, again, Poland has a lot to offer. Poland has a lot of young talents, young people investing in companies, and this is also something I would like to really underline. I'm signing later today an agreement on business incubation centers where startups are being nurtured and being developed. Again, this is something extremely important for me and extremely important for Poland. So let me conclude just to say that I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for organizing the 10 years of ESA for Poland conference here. It's a great opportunity, it's a great reason to celebrate, but also we need to not only look in the past, we need to look into the future and prepare the future, and this is also the moment through the Ministerial Conference of ESA. Thank you very much for your attention.
Józef, thank you very much. Nie wiem, czy Państwo tego jeszcze nie wiedzą, ale Józef odpowiedział na wszystkie pytania, które mam do zadania już w zasadzie.
You don't know that yet, but Józef actually answered all the questions that I have to ask. I'd like to invite to the stage Minister Kamila Król from the Ministry of Development and Technology. Applause, please. This is the minister who holds the entire space sector in her hands. So that's a pleasure. Madam Minister. Now I'd like to invite Minister Wojciech Murdzek from the Ministry of Education and Science. A moment ago, the minister said that now it's possible to educate about the space also in primary schools, because he represents the Ministry of both Education and Science. Welcome, Minister.
Professor,
now it's your turn. I'm talking to the president of Polsa, Grzegorz Wrochna.
Spokojnie powiedzieć. Tak, duże brawa. To najważniejszy człowiek polskiego kosmosu.
Yes, big applause, please. This is the most important person of Polish space, outer space, Paweł Wojtkiewicz, the legend of space in Poland. Don't be fooled by how young he looks. He has been working for Poland in this respect since the start of the Polish president in ESA. And he is the president of the Association of Employers of the Space Sector. And last but not least, very important person, Izabela Podrugol, director of the European Commission, responsible not just for space, but also for defense.
Hi, and please, yeah. Szanowni Państwo,
ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving on to the panel. I will ask our guests questions one by one. There are a few questions, and then I will ask for comments. So the surprising motive of this panel will be that it will be conducted in 2 languages. I will be asking questions in both Polish and English, depending on the guest. And so please be careful and listen, because this might not be very easy, particularly considering my English. So the first question goes, the first round of questions to Madam Minister Król. Minister, we would like to ask how Polish government, especially the Ministry of Development and Technology, sees the place of Poland in space. What Polish space specializations would you envisage? What are the possibilities of Polish company, and what should be most emphasized in Madam Minister's opinion? How can we develop as a country to become more and more important? Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to stress, and I've been stressing yesterday when I was opening this conference, that Polish space sector is one of the most dynamically developing industries in Poland. And for the past few years, we've been recording a very dynamic growth. This is one of those industries that significantly contributed to the development of Polish economy and science. And in fact, this is the result of the activities that have been undertaken by the government and the governmental administration, but also the entities operating in the space sector and the institutions that are so powerfully working for this sector. In the Ministry of Development and Technology, we perceive a space sector as a highly technological industry that may contribute to creation of a new model of Polish economy development. And we want to base Polish economy on the knowledge, on the technological progress and innovations. So three key terms that I would like to present in the very first beginning. We have to admit that Polish space sector is a young industry. Most of the time we see the majority of companies are SMEs. Nevertheless, so we have to say that there is a lot of interest, and we have many companies interested, for instance, space software or terrestrial software or precise mechanics or robotics or optics, orbital system, orbital correction systems, material technologies, composites, and many others. And here I must repeat what I said yesterday, that this development was greatly affected by our cooperation with the European Space Agency. Indeed, since 2012, this cooperation and this development have intensified. Now, what brings the future? What lies ahead of us? Well, in our ministry, in the Ministry of Technology, we forecast that the development of space sector will base on several pillars or fields. First of all, we are finalizing the National Space Program. This is the response to the growing role of the space sector, as well as it addresses also the technological progress that happened in many industries of our economy. Another important element involves the new initiatives in the European Union, for instance, secure connectivity. Well, this pertains to a secure satellite connectivity based on European commercial infrastructures, also space management. So this is managing the traffic in space. Well, we cannot forget about the safety and security of the satellite infrastructure, because this is very important. In the EU member states, it is done through the created EU objects, space objects, following system and monitoring system, and Poland has joined this in 2018, and we have to stress that we have quite a significant part of the network of optical sensors that are used for SSI, and Poland tries to effectively participate in the works done by the consortium. Well, thirdly, I must also emphasize the European Space Program, because we have quite great hopes when it comes to implementation of various activities and projects. The crucial objective is to support the scientific progress, technological progress, as well as improvement of potential and capacities in competition, innovativeness of the space industries in the EU, especially of the SMEs, but also startups
and innovative enterprises. The next element, the fourth one, is Polish entities' participation in ESA projects, optional programs, and the programs of European Union, such as Horizon Europe. And the fifth element, more general, are the other actions that are implemented, other national competitions, particularly of the Polish Space Agency or the National Research and Development Center. Generally, I am convinced that the participation of Polish entities in these initiatives will ensure further development of the space sector in Poland. Also, it needs to be observed that most Polish entities operating in the space sectors are component suppliers. However, we can see progress also in this area, because we are seeing a growing trend regarding technology competence and regarding management of bigger projects among Polish entities. As a consequence, on the Polish market, there are already enterprises and institutions that are subsystem integrators or even whole system integrators. And it needs to be highlighted how important are the possibilities connected with Earth observation and the downstream, very much developed, first of all, thanks to programs implemented by ESA, like they pertain to Copernicus, but future IO solutions connected with Earth observation. And it needs to be clearly emphasized that this is the most mature section of the space sector in Poland. Equally well developed area in downstream are SSA applications and observation possibilities, capabilities as well. Also, I want to point out that universities and institutes have 20% share in ESA contracts, and according to us, the strong capabilities of the Space Research Center and the Aviation Institute should be used in ESA programs more strongly, but on the commercial market as well. Moving on to the strong points of the Polish space sector, I could list at least 5. First of all, downstream, the second one, dynamism, flexibility, innovation, as well as a lot of experience among research entities and private entities. And this experience continues to be increased as regards the chances, the opportunities. Mostly, this is about, well, the sector being noticed as a new innovative branch of the Polish economy. The second point is the growing demand for the use of space technologies at the side of the Polish state and at the side of the European Union. And the new space phenomenon, which among other things consists on increasing the role of small satellites and new launch technologies. I also, of course, have to mention certain barriers connected not not only with the permanent now crisis, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic, and I hope that ending with the war in Ukraine, because of course we cannot predict what is about to happen in the coming months. Anyway, a major barrier that we are seeing is the lack in the Polish infrastructure, in the Polish lab and test infrastructure. So the entities, they want to improve their skills, have to use the infrastructure abroad, foreign infrastructure.
And that means higher costs and longer time necessary to implement various projects. Therefore, I hope that in the future this progress will be visible, will be dynamic, despite all the obstacles that can be brought by fate. And I hope we will develop this sector. Thank you.
Joseph, now you. I have a question about the future of ESA, and how do you think how we can increase our role, Poland and ESA's position in space exploration and use? How can we fight for specialties that will give ESA an advantage over the big players in the sector? And what do you think if Poland has his own piece of space now, and how can we increase this small piece now? Thank you.
No, thank you. It's a lot of questions and a lot of elements. Let me start with your first question on the future of ESA and, of course, how this relates to Poland and where Poland can fit in and what role it can play. So the future of ESA is bright. We have a very strong, clear agenda on the table called Agenda 2025. And this is something that I elaborated with all the countries when I became, or before I became, Director General of ESA. And it's something that is really carried by the member states. One should never forget that ESA is not an institution somewhere, and the member states are somewhere out there. ESA is the sum of all its member states. Poland is one of them, and all the others. And the governance of ESA is a very strong one, where member states have huge influence on what we do, how we do it, and the way it is carried out. It shows this ministerial which is coming up because the member states decide what we do. And the member states decide how we do it. We have just negotiated all the legal agreements for this package with the member states, and the conditions, the legal conditions under which we implement the program is a legal contract among the member states, of which ESA only implements it on behalf of the member states. So this is, I think, to be understood and to be clarified, so that member states have a huge influence in the governance of ESA. Makes my life difficult, but this is a very strong governance that the member states have. So where does ESA go? And in this Agenda 2025, we have identified a very clear ambition of where we think, member states think, Europe needs to be. I mentioned before that space is a very fast developing sector, economically, but also from the government side. And I want that European space industry, European users are benefiting from that and are not left behind. The opposite, we should be leading in some of these domains. If I now compare Europe with the outside world, that means the US in particular, but also China, Japan and others, it is fair to say that in the overall landscape of space activities, Europe has developed a global leadership. We are among the best, if not the best, in Earth observation, in navigation, in space science, in geostationary telecommunication satellites. I think these are domains where Europe has been catching up. I take Galileo as an example. We have been, after GPS was existing for several 2 decades, we have been starting a European navigation system, Galileo, and it is today the most precise signal in terms of localization. So we have catched up over a period of 20 years following a delay which we had. Same in Earth observation. Copernicus, here in Poland, of course, particularly important. Again, in Earth observation, we have been catching up where we didn't have a role before. In 1972, we have been having Landsat 1, and all of us have benefited from this Earth observation satellite, myself included in my PhD, for example. And we have been using them very happily because they have been the standard worldwide for several decades. Only in the late 80s or 90s, we started developing a strong European capability, now resulting in Copernicus and another strong Earth observation program with Earth Explorers, Meteor satellites. And again, we have established Earth observation missions as a gold standard worldwide, where, and I'm very happy to say, NASA participates also in those as a partner. Sentinel-6, for example, NASA provides a very strong amount of funding and technology into our satellites. Again, we have caught up 20, 30 years of delay, and we have now top standard. In some domains, we have lost ground. And I have to say that. In launchers, for example, I don't need to mention SpaceX, everyone sees it every single day, but there we have to catch up again. We had leadership in launchers until about 10 years ago. Now we have a small interim period, I should call it, but we have to catch up again, and of course we have to get Ariane 6 on the launch pad. We have just had Vega C successfully, its inaugural flight. We have to maintain and to develop this launch is clear, but we also have to think how we catch up in order to again gain leadership in the launcher sector. Another sector is broadband internet. Again, something where we again see Starlink, for example, in front of our door. We have nothing equivalent in Europe. We have to catch up and we have to put our energy together. But I'm saying this, we can do that, and ESA is the mechanism to do it. If we put our energy together, our forces together, we do develop world-leading programs of top technology. And we are usually quite competitive. Our satellites are quite cheap in brackets compared to others. Meaning that our industry, when it comes to public competition outside Europe, for example, in Latin America, in Asia, it's usually European companies who are winning this competition. I just take an example of telecommunication. Out of this year's open competitions for 6 large geostationary telecom satellites, 5 out of 6 have been won by European companies. The 6th one by Boeing, but also in exchange for some other trade deals which were made between the US and that particular country. But in competition, Europe is winning because Europe has a top industry, very competitive, excellent capabilities, and this is something where I think we can be very proud of. So I want, through the ministerial package and through ESA, develop and further develop the European space sector, and that means, of course, investing in programs that are inspiring, that are building up technology, that are building up new projects and ideas that convert also into economic opportunities, and this is really at the core of our ministerial package. And I think that's something I would like to do. And now maybe one more word on where Poland fits in there. Of course, this is the overall ESA context. As I said before, every country is finding its home in ESA through project and expertise. I've mentioned a few before. The minister has mentioned also a few very impressive examples where Poland is top, is really good. And that is my job as ESA, to make sure that your expertise is further developed within this wider context, that you participate in missions to the universe, but also in Earth observation, also in navigation, also in communication, or in space safety to protect our orbits from debris and so on. So there are many opportunities, and we have many, actually we had good discussions already, and we keep discussing where Poland is particularly well suited. My job is to develop a strong space industry, space community in Poland, and this is really what I want to do. And one last word, I'm also looking for new generations within ESA to work with us, because we do need young talents and young people. So please also take this as an invitation to look at our websites, apply for jobs, because I would like to have more Polish people in ESA.
Thank you very much. Brawa poproszę. Państwo słyszeli, że
A round of applause, please. You heard that the future of ESA and Poland is bright. President, Professor, a question to you, a complex matter, money. The money and the contribution, of course, gentlemen do not talk about money, but maybe they talk about contributions, right? They can talk about contributions, but they do not like to, and I will explain in a moment why that is. This is a very valid question, because in less than 4 weeks, the ministers of ESA member states will be deciding how much money to contribute to ESA and what to spend it on. So the question is very much valid. I don't like, the word contribution. Okay, so let's say money. Let's not be gentlemen here. First, contribution. It looks as if we give money to some external entity and it disappears from the horizon. Let me stress, we do not cooperate with ESA. We work with ESA. We are a member of ESA. So we have, let me paraphrase one song, that we have a piece of a program. This navigation satellite will be like ours. The transponder will be ours. A component of the lander will be ours. It will be ours, and it will be Madam Minister that will decide in 3 weeks how much money to contribute and what to spend it on, of course, with the other ministers, the Minister of Education and Science in particular. This is the Polish delegation that will decide how much money and for what.
And what kind of programs will be implemented by ESA. This is the first reason. And the second reason is the fact that the contribution is usually associated with charity. We give them money and they are lost. That's not true. It's an investment. It's a great investment. The director has said that the return is 4 to 1. Per €1 we get 4. My opinion is different. It's 1,000 to 1. And I think that the difference is because he is calculating the direct effect of the use of technologies that are developed in exploration missions, but I'm talking about the effect, how the whole economy is affected, because if we use different instruments that help us in agriculture, zoning, spatial economy, agriculture, well, then it will bring millions. The millions will bring billions to our economy. Well, somebody may ask, where is ESA positions? We have to buy the satellites, we have to launch them into the orbit. Well, yes, ESA is not building all of the satellites, but ESA is building prototypes. So if we use the ESA program to come up with a very complicated, complex apparatus, if we develop and then launch and then test a prototype of a satellite, navigational or other satellite, well, then our companies will be able to sell it around the world for great money. This will be a great export product, and we already have several of such products. We've heard some examples, and on the other hand, the companies will be able to meet the needs of our country, so that we stop being blind and deaf in different crises, so that our economy, starting with agriculture, is very modern and progressive. This is a breakthrough moment. Well, in our history, we have good and bad examples of how we use this kind of breakthroughs. In the space sector, we have the example. Well, one of the best developing companies in Europe moved to another country because in Poland there was not enough imagination to create good conditions for their development. But if we go to the banking sector, we skipped checks, we have cards, we have online banking. We are champions of the world, and well, the United States of Germany are behind us. That's not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. The Polish banks have developed all of this, and definitely this is the breakthrough moment when it comes to the space sector. If we invest right now, our companies will develop. They will be a great, excellent new industry with fantastic exporting potential, and other companies will develop as well. If we waste this chance, we will remain deaf and blind. We will have to pay a lot of money to buy the technologies from others. So the choice, it is up to us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Panie ministrze, teraz
Minister, I have a question to Minister Murczak.
Jakie pana zdaniem
In your opinion, what are the challenges, what are the mitigation resources in order to improve the competences of the space sector? How the 10 years of Poland in ESA changed the landscape, research and scientific landscape in Poland? It has been mentioned by Minister, for instance, that we have some things and we are still missing some things, and what are the possibilities to improve the cooperation between the research sector and industry in the future. Let me start by saying that indeed when we are looking at Copernicus that was used to name the space mission or project, I have to say that I come from Świdnica, where Maria Kunic was functioning, and we have to remember this is 1610. This is when she was born, and at that time we would call it scientific publication. What she did and her work became a classical work of science. Well, in Poland we could name many other people, because I'm saying that because everything starts with people. Space is a word that sounds very proudly and expansively, but well, specific people stand behind it. And as the Director General has rightly said so, we have to think about young talents as well. And during the whole educational process, we should focus on actually popularizing the process and popularize space. And it was not an accident that we've heard the joke about the preschoolers, but digitization when it comes to preschools and primary schools, well, this process is ongoing.
I could talk about it long, but we are aware that inspiring the passion for modern technologies that are closely connected with all the topics related to space starts early on, at an early age. I'm happy that we allocated 1 billion zloty for labs of the future at the level of primary schools. We can equip the labs with the latest achievements of technology so that children can learn at such an early stage to work on modern equipment of what actually comes ahead, certain solutions. But we also realize what the dynamics is. We say 10 years of history of Poland and ESA, but as regards space, exploration of space, apart from things like setting foot on the moon, because this is taking place, otherwise the dynamics is amazing. Every year brings changes. In the past, there was no education in the area of robotics. This is a novelty. In the past, we talked about mechanics, about engineers, electronic engineers. Now, more and more, we talk about mechatronics. Names are appearing that address the challenges of the future. They have to address them already today. But we also realize that strong science is fundamental, because this is the source of the people that then continue scientific research. Also, educated people, well-prepared people can find their way to economy this way. We are trying to implement concrete products like the implementation PhD, where young scientists immediately start cooperating with the economy. They look for solutions while being employed in specific enterprises. We talked with the president, maybe the next edition could be enriched with a component related to space, because there was AI, quantum technologies, and now maybe we could add this component for scientists, for practitioners, pragmaticists to be active and present. But again, we start half a step ahead, because we are supporting students with conviction. And the achievements of the Polish student in the LC competition, an important one, a group of students from the Technology University in Krakow came first, and the solutions like rovers and other solutions related to space, the number of active students, the number of successes is exceptionally big and impressive. I myself, from the level of my room at the ministry, controlled the rover. The students were helping me, and what was your result? Well, not great, but still.
But well, those competitions are great. 4 projects that won as the best projects, they all relate to the space, and one basis on the experiences of cooperation with ESA, and we are talking about the students level. I need to stress it again. We have another program to support the students organizations where they experiment with rovers, with different instruments, because actually this area is developing as component as Poland's contribution, and here the support translates into very interesting projects and very important and very brave thinking. Well, when we talk about universities, well, I've mentioned the Technology University of Kraków, Mining and Technology University of Kraków. Well, this is one of the universities that would like to be more active in space area, and I think that this project will be implemented, and the presence of the academy, the Kraków University of Technology and Mining, is a bridge to the international activities, because this university is a member of the universal an international project that is to increase the mobility of students and young scientists, so they learn how to work in teams, in international teams, and this is quite successful. And I think that this is a very interesting space. Well, all those activities are supported by our ministry. And it's not just about the participation that was mentioned by professor, but well, we are effectively involved, concretely involved. Well, and in this field we do it quite successfully as well. For instance, Space Research Center of the Polish Academy of Sciences is participating as the only country from outside invited by NASA to be part of IMAP mission, and concentrating on the instrument that helps to run solar wind research. And our involvement is concrete. Our ministry spent 16 million to continue this project. Well, this is the example of how we support our entities, and we are very happy to see more initiatives like that because they translate specifically to different applications and ways of using those inventions. And this power of Polish IT specialists that developed AI, quantum technologies development, well, that translates to our awareness that we can receive a lot of information from space. So the basic return product is the information, widely defined, of course, and we have to process the information, more information. We have to do it smartly, and therefore intelligence is quite important in this. And the products that can be obtained later on thanks to the satellite imagining and other kinds of information, we can actually use it in different areas of lives, because we have this space versus Earth. So the knowledge that we get from space, which is later applied in practice, and that helps us to intervene in so many domains of life so successfully that this list is quite long. But we also, once again, we have to go back to preschools and kids, and I'm very happy about this project Nauka that has been launched, and space is present there since the start. Because, for instance, Copernicus mentioned here, we have to promote it, we have to encourage people to use the data and to think where to use the data, because there is a number of possible applications, and each of these applications affects the economy and the quality of life, which is extremely important. And like the director mentioned, we want to be stronger and wiser after crisis. We want to be on good positions. The area of space and the involvement in science, this is somewhere where Poles can show themselves as elites. So we don't have to be limited, because we can be among the best, and we can have a concrete scientific and economic contribution. Thank you so much. A round of applause, please. And now questions to a practitioner, a great practitioner. Paweł, in the space sector, you've been working there since the beginning, or actually you started working there before Poland's accession to ESA. What is your perception of the Polish space market? What changed in the 10 years? And what are the positive changes? But also please mention maybe some areas for improvement. I have a question to you, and I believe in your honesty. You are the president of the Association of the Space Sector Employers. So where would you say are the leaders that can become the leaders not only on the Polish but also on the European scene? Talking of companies, could you please refer to that? And I guess that's it. Could you please answer? Thank you. Thank you for these questions. They are very, very valid. I will try to answer as precisely as I can. And first, let me observe that those of us sitting here, we represent all the areas.
that are important for the space sector, science, economy. At the side of the client, there is ESA, the European Commission, the POLSA, and entrepreneurs and institutes operating in the space sector. I'm very glad that during the last 10 years, invariably, the voice of the industry has been very important for all the sections of the administration and for all those who take care of the space sector at the side of the administration. During yesterday's panel and during the presentation, I was summarizing the achievements of the past 10 years, but I will try to add something. I would say a lot has changed. The space sector in Poland exists. 10 years ago, we decided to build this new branch of economy. Now it exists and something has to be done about it. And we are ready for the next big step. President Wrochna put it well. The industry, the research institutes operating in the space sector are waiting for the next step, so that from smaller subcontractors, suppliers of small systems, we want to grow bigger. What changed? The experience changed. 10 years ago, it was difficult to find people with experience in the space sector in Poland. Now, after 10 years at the companies and in the institutes, there are a lot of people with experience in the space sector, which is extremely important for the contracts. For instance, ESA contracts, where not only the experience of companies is assessed, but also the experience of people who work in these companies. And 10 years ago, we had a problem with that. But now the companies can show that they have experienced engineers with 10 years of experience. That's quite a lot of experience. And talking of experience, we also have experience in how ESA functions, how the European space market functions. The companies and the administration have this experience.
It's worth to use the experience because this experience tells us that right now we touch upon my opinion. When I talk with the employers, we reached the glass ceiling, and with the level of our participation in programs, we cannot go further. So I encourage you to do the next step, and I'm talking about on behalf of all companies in our association. We are ready to reach further, reach higher, to do more ambitious tasks under the European Space Agency's programs. And what else? Well, this is a big work that has been done by all companies and individual persons in the space sector in Poland. Well, the perception has changed. Before it was associated mostly with science, and right now it is associated with economy. It's a very important change because we are able to show that this sector brings tangible benefits for the economy. As it was said here, we are not doing space sector just for space sector. Well, it offers us a return on investment, and it strongly affects other industries in Poland. What else can I add? Well, indeed, what failed? I can really say that, as it was mentioned, we dream to go to the next level, to start constructing systems. But I have to say that if we divide the sector into upstream and downstream, in downstream I would be able to name those that are contractor. In Europe, we have leaders in Europe, the leading companies in Europe, also in the area of sharing satellite data. Of course, in upstream, there is a lot of work that must be done by us. And I hope, where do we look for the specializations? Madam Minister summarized it quite excellently. And upstream and downstream, again. In upstream, we have a big experience when it comes to this area. Well, we should start in 1990s when it comes to the private sector. And well, we have the expertise and our activity in this area. That was about the downstream and now upstream. During the past 10 years, we followed different directions, but we can see that many companies developed in specific fields: electronics, composites, structures, space, robotics. Regardless of the direction it will follow, well, in each of those directions we are present. Everything that is connected with space security, widely defined. Our participation in European infrastructure in monitoring space objects is quite significant. Well, this is an important direction, everything around it. So space traffic management, all new areas that are developed in Europe. This is the opportunity for Polish entities to emphasize their presence. So construction of satellites, navigational, communicational satellites. We are quite successful here. We also successfully implemented the contracts under Copernicus 1 or 2 run by the ESA. Also Earth observation satellites. This is where Polish companies are functioning as well. But we also have the mission to build our own satellites. But in order to achieve that, we need another impulse. 10 years ago, we did a certain step. We decided to focus on this industry, but we are ready now to do the next step. And this is my declaration on behalf of the industry, on the entities in our association, that we will be cooperating with the administration, with the government, to build the future strategy to cover the next 10 years. So if I understood you correctly, so the next step is the investment. Yes, the next step means investment. I think this is a conclusion. We can call it a conclusion. We can look for investments on the private market, but as we all know, and Director General and Madam Minister and the President have said it's very hard to find money in private sector, also in Europe, but what is happening in the US and the surplus of the private money that is invested in space sector is significant. So there is a lot of work for us to encourage private investors to invest in space sector.
Isabel, there is your question, and this is, I think, the most difficult subject and important topic this day. I would like to talk about war and security. We know how great a role satellite plays today during the conflict in Ukraine. And I would like to ask, how much do you think the war should affect the Polish and European space sector? And how does the European Union use space technology to secure its citizens?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you for the invitation and to be here today to celebrate together the 10 years of Polish space sector in ESA. It was, for me, very interesting to listen to the achievement that you were able to bring in the latest 10 years in the participation in the EU space program, in the ESA program, and the ecosystem in general. And yes, indeed, there is a lot of challenges and opportunities ahead of us, and it's important to discuss all together how to face them and how to grasp the opportunities that are in front of us. Indeed, the war has a huge impact on the space ecosystem in Poland and in Europe. First of all, after the wake of the aggression of Russia in Ukraine, we start immediately to map, together with ESA and the Agency of the European Space Programme, dependencies in critical raw material and technologies. The work was done in a very quick way and tried to really map and see what was missing and how to tackle the missing part. And indeed, the war has demonstrated how space sector is critical sector for our sovereignty and autonomy, and how it's critical to develop a European supply chain and the European technologies and ecosystem, to be resilient and to provide security services. Now that we have more time, because unfortunately the war is not ending, but we don't know how it's ahead of us, we start a more structural mapping exercise with the Observatory of Critical Technologies, who is taking information from industry and from member state and is developing roadmaps in order to focus investment in critical technologies that are missing in Europe. And on critical raw material, now the Commission is preparing the Critical Raw Material Act to map not only the quantity but also the quality of what is missing in Europe, and also to try to find solution. Solution, obviously, in particular on critical raw material is not only in Europe, but is also outside Europe with structured partnership with like-minded countries. And we try to solve the problem of materials that are missing. Fortunately, when we had the first mapping exercise, we see that European industries had good stockpiling of critical raw materials, but indeed, with the time, the stockpiling is expiring. Then is obviously investment in the European space ecosystem across to try financial intermediaries in space. So to make them see how space is a growing sector, and how to also to organize matchmaking initiatives between the industry and financial intermediaries, because indeed there is not only about grants, but it's also about growing and scaling up for SMEs and startups in space. Skills is another key topic to answer on the needs to have a truly European space ecosystem. Poland is great in it. We listen how many activities and how many experience you had since centuries. Marie Curie Skłodowska is recognized all around Europe. We have even a European program with her name to promote research across Europe. So I think we are already well on track. Universe is a European funded project. And we also have projects like EU4Geo that indeed is investing in the uptake of Earth observation data. And now we want to expand it on also for satellite navigation data, and also more towards the resilience and the security of the EU. This is also what the European President, the President of the European Commission launched for next year, the European Year for Skills, Training and Education. And we in the FIS that we are dealing with space and defense, we are working to organize events, but also to indeed prolong and enlarge already existing projects, in particular for building partnership across university, education and training center, but also between industries and university to fill the gap of what is needed from industry to develop and grow in the next years. What can be done, what space has done and can be done in the future for resilience and security of Europe? I think was mentioned already Galileo. Galileo is navigation positioning downwind services. He has already services for the use of civil security and military use as the public regulated services or the search and rescue. But we are developing together with ESA the second generation to be always state-of-the-art in providing state-of-the-art resilient service. Copernicus was mentioned several times, and the great participation of Polish industry in Copernicus. Copernicus so far was used mainly for environmental purpose, but there were already emergency services to monitor land and sea after natural disaster, so mainly earthquakes, floods, fire, eruptions. But also the Commission is considering to develop more secure governmental services to the mapping of land, and this I think will be very key for the future ahead of us. SST, space surveillance and tracking, was already mentioned, and the participation of Poland, not only as member state participating in the monitoring, but also in the industry participating in the monitoring. And this will further develop with the space traffic management. We released at the beginning of the year a space traffic management approach. but the aim is together to develop 10 actions, both on the policy level, but also on the technology level, to have more capabilities in the EU. Secure connectivity was mentioned as well, and again, not only the importance of secure communication in normal times, but even more in difficult times. And we had seen the leak of the Nord Stream, and now the Commission is speeding up because we are already in the pipeline since a couple of years the adoption of a directive for the protection and the resilience of critical infrastructure. But last week the Commission proposed Council recommendation to speed up the implementation of this directive. And obviously space has a key role to play. First of all, because we have expertise. So space infrastructure are resilient already, and so we can help other sectors to develop resilience of the infrastructure. And space can be used for the monitoring, to combination of Earth observation and navigation and positioning service. We can really monitoring the leaks and the consequence and the protection of critical infrastructure in all sectors: energy, transport, digital, cyber, because we are not to forget also the hybrid threats and the critical role of cyber for the future. To also have a kind of more broad approach, we are ready and will be ready to release at the beginning of next year the space strategy for security and defense that will be tackling indeed how to make space infrastructure more resilient, but also the impact of space for the resilience of the others. I would just conclude that I think that Mr. Aschbacher reminded at the beginning of his speech how independence, autonomy, strength, resilience of space is key for Europe, and how services are key for Europe, and how we should all together work to make that European space is still on the top level that it is today, and stay in Europe and in Poland, and not going abroad to find investment that are lacking here. And I would like to remind that I think everyone agrees that the discussion together was very, I think everyone would like to invest more in space. Maybe a slight disagreement, if I may, a joke is about money. But I want to remind that money in space is not spent in space, but is invested, and is invested for the growth of the economy and for the well-being of our societies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Szanowni Państwo, jak
ladies and gentlemen, when Director Zabadawa invited me to host this panel, he said two things. First, that there are no taboo topics, and I hope that this panel really demonstrated this. Before I thank our panelists, and he also said, one thing. He said that I can discuss whatever I want. So I wanted to take this opportunity when they gave me the mic. We know what will happen in a moment. The agreement will be signed between ESA and Poland regarding the opening of a European business incubator in Poland. This is a project in which also I was involved approximately 5 years, and I wanted to thank some people. I have a list of those that I should thank. I will certainly not list them all because there were a lot of people. First, I'd like to thank ESA and you, Joseph, for your patience. Thank you. Thank you for waiting for us. Thank you for allowing us to introduce some amendments, and thank you for arriving at this day. As regards the people who are involved in the process, I would divide them into 4 groups. First, those who worked and supported. The second group, those who supported, the third group who didn't care, and there were also those who tried to put some obstacles on the way. I hope that I can see all of them in the room today. So thanks to the last group, this project is exceptionally good, and it will be even better. I already thank my bosses for maintaining this project. I'd also like to thank the panelists. All of you are the supporters. You are with us, for which I thank you. Michał, Darek, Paweł, my former bosses, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the partners. First of all, Rzeszów. All the time, Rzeszów was by the side of the organization ISA and the business incubator. On the way, we lost some partners, mostly for financial reasons. MIT Enterprise Forum, I'd like to thank you, Magda. Thank you for being there for us and working on this project all the time. I would have to list a lot of people from the ministry. So, Piotr, I will extend my thanks. Well, you will be the person who I hope will communicate this to the rest. And now on to the group that worked hardest, the employees and former employees of ARP, mostly Michał Chwieduk. Michał, thank you. Please applaud them because they invested a lot of work in all of that. Marzena Wydryszek.
Bogusława
Marszal, who joined us, who joined in the works and contributed a lot of energy and knowledge. Katarzyna Kudlak, who wrote all the agreements and is very well familiar with the project, and of course Paweł Pacek, who manages this space team at ARP. Two people who no longer work but work with me, Łukasz Borowik and Sebastian Kozakowski. They also made a contribution. Without all these people that I listed, I forgot one group, I forgot the ministers, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Thank you very much, but I like to thank you, but also those who came before you. I mean mainly two people, I mean Madam Minister Emilewicz and Minister Robert Nowicki, with who I worked. But all of you contributed a lot of energy, and this is thanks to you that this could happen. Professor, thank you so much as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for talking to me. My guests and your guests were from my right, sorry, from my right, Izabela Poldrugo, Minister Wojciech Murdzek, Madam Minister Kamila Król, who will be handling the investment in a moment. Of course, Mr. Josef Aschbacher, the director, Professor and President Grzegorz Wrochna, and Paweł Wojtkiewicz. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and I am Bartosz Sokoliński. Thank you, and see you.
Thanks. Dziękuję.
Szanowni Państwo, bardzo dziękuję wszystkim panelistom za wzięcie udziału w dyskusji. Bartoszu, Tobie dziękuję za moderowanie. Skoro mamy tak dostojnych gości na scenie, sugeruję może wspólne zdjęcie, jeżeli zechcesz. Jeszcze poprosimy o chwilę dla fotoreporterów. We'll take a photo. Raz jeszcze dziękuję, a Państwa zapraszam na przerwę. Przerwa potrwa do godziny 11:45.
Thank you again, and now I'd like to invite you to the break. Please come back at 11:45.
Czy wiesz, że inwestycje na badania kosmosu zwracają się jako rozwiązania, z których korzystasz na co dzień? Bezdotykowy termometr, zestaw słuchawkowy czy nawigacja w telefonie to przykłady niektórych z nich. Brzmi kosmicznie? Sprawdź to!
Europe is at the heart of new space ambitions, ready to embrace ever greater technological and human challenges. The first objective is to maintain autonomous launch capabilities for our missions. Based on 50 years of experience in launchers, we can ensure space transportation for future missions. In orbit around our home planet Earth, the International Space Station continues to play an essential role as a research platform. Soon it will be possible to journey in the Orion service module to the Lunar Gateway, a station that will orbit the Moon and be the first deep space outpost supporting human exploration of the Moon. By the end of the decade, a European moonlander should deliver the cargo needed to survive the lunar night in a base camp, securing a European astronaut's presence on the Moon. But to secure our independence, shouldn't we find a way to get there ourselves? What if Europe were to develop its own crewed transport system? The Space Rider demonstrator is a step in that direction. Striking out beyond the Moon, we'll send the Sample Fetch rover to Mars to collect samples and bring them back to Earth, so scientists can unravel the mysteries of the Red Planet. Many other missions will be key to prepare for human exploration of our sister planet. Let's take part in those first steps. And why stop there? There's a natural satellite around Saturn named Enceladus, which may also harbor life. Isn't life the very essence of our planet? Together, let's explore space, traveling farther, so as to come back with new knowledge to improve life on Earth.
Technologie kosmiczne wspierają nas w codziennym życiu. Dzięki obserwacjom satelitarnym możemy prognozować plony, przewidywać skalę powodzi, zasięg pożaru, a nawet monitorować stan naszej planety. Brzmi kosmicznie? Sprawdź to! Czy wiesz, że technologie kosmiczne pomagają nam dbać o zdrowie? Skanery medyczne, odporne na zarysowania szkło wykorzystywane w okularach, czy laserowa operacja oka? To tylko niektóre z przykładów. Brzmi kosmicznie? Sprawdź to! Technologie rozwijane przez sektor kosmiczny to nieodległa galaktyka. Obserwacje satelitarne mają bezpośredni wpływ na nasze bezpieczeństwo. Wspierają ratowników medycznych w niesieniu pomocy. Brzmi kosmicznie? Sprawdź to!
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's 60 years since humans first went into space. By using rockets and developing life support systems, we have learned to live and work in orbit around our planet. But we dream of exploring farther, to set up home on the moon and beyond. ESA selects astronauts from our member states to train for and complete our missions. To be an astronaut, you must be experienced in technical work and healthy enough to fly to space safely. Once selected, astronauts try to fly in space and to conduct a whole range of experiments there. Our astronauts train with partners agencies around the world, and particularly at ESA's Astronaut Center in Cologne, Germany. ESA conducts special studies on the ground to prepare for missions in space. Our home planet has extreme environments where we can train astronauts and test equipment. We work underground, in volcanic landscapes, and in isolation in the Antarctic. We test tools in rocky landscapes and create and store materials that resemble the surface of other planets. We also create elements of the space environment. We use bed rest and parabolic flight to test the effects of weightlessness, as well as Mars yards and lunar bases made with simulant dust. The International Space Station is one of the most amazing machines ever built. A huge international team worked together to make a laboratory where astronauts can run experiments to help life on Earth and our future lives in space. As well as doing their daily experiments, astronauts on the station need to be able to monitor their health and well-being and support their fellow crew members. They communicate with the ground regularly, including with flight controllers based in Europe. Some experiments and repair work on the space station require astronauts to go outside. They wear spacesuits to conduct extravehicular activity, also known as spacewalks. Spacewalks are rehearsed in detail, using deep swimming pools to simulate the weightless environment. Spacesuits are brilliant machines, like small spacecrafts in themselves. But we would like to make them smaller and easier to move around in, especially for walking on the Moon and Mars.
chwila podpisania umowy na utworzenie inkubatora ESA Business Incubation Center w Polsce. Zapraszam na scenę Michała Hieduka z Agencji Rozwoju Przemysłu, który pełni funkcję ESA Big Poland Manager i poprowadzi tę część konferencji. Michale, zapraszam.
Dear ESA representatives, dear ministry representatives, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great pleasure to moderate this part of conference, and Milena introduced me as a ESA Big Poland manager. It's not exactly true, because it might be in the near future, a very near future. And to make this future a reality, I would like to start with signing the contract for the implementation and management of Business Incubation Center of European Space Agency in Poland. The contract will be signed with between, of course, ESA and Industrial Development Agency. And the anniversary of 10 years of Poland in ESA is a great occasion for this to happen. So I would like to, with great pleasure, I would like to invite to stage Josef Aschbacher, Director General of the European Space Agency. I would like to invite also Cezariusz Lesisz, President of the Industrial Development Agency, Prezes Agencji Rozwoju Przemysłu, Sebastian Domski, Vice President of the Industrial Development Agency, czy Wiceprezes Agencji Rozwoju Przemysłu. How do you prefer? We can start with speech. Yes? Yes, we can. Yes.
So, first of all, thank you. And maybe before we sign, we say a couple of words of what this is all about. I've already, at the press conference before, said a few words on the ESA big cooperation, how important it is for us in ESA, but I hope also for Poland. And it is really also part of the celebration of 10 years Poland in ESA. Poland has made huge progress over the last 10 years. And of course, the BICs, the business incubation centers, which where we are signing the agreement now, is a next important step in order to further increase this cooperation, but also this excellent development of Polish industry in a European context. So let me say a few words of what the ESA BICs are. The ESA Business Incubation Centers have been created in 2003, and we have many BICs across Europe. In fact, the ESA BICs are the largest network of space incubators in Europe. What we typically do is that we unite startups, young companies with brilliant ideas, and give them a framework and support from the side of ESA to help them develop their idea, help them grow and be successful from a business point of view to develop services, products that they can sell on the market with our support in terms of technology and investment. So we are working with the local governments, we are working with the local industry, with the local academic scene, and typically through champions. And these champions, as we call them, are the ones that lead the initiative and the activity. And in Poland, this ESA Big Poland champion is the Industrial Development Agency, JSC, as you know. So overall, within Europe, in the ESA BICs, we have helped, we had 864 startups that have completed incubation. 316 are currently running. And we estimate that by 2021, the ESA BIC startups generated 165 million total in revenue and raised another 434 million of financing in order to support their workforce and their projects. So these are big numbers, and the ESA Big Poland will be part of this in the future and will benefit from this. The ESA Big Poland will be the 26th BIC of ESA. So you see that we have them in all the countries. And here in Poland, we really look forward to build up new businesses and new opportunities. There will be located in two locations, in Rzeszów and in Warsaw. We will start with 7 startups that are being supported per year, and altogether we aim at 35 incubatees over the next 5 years, which will keep you very busy, which will keep us very busy, but certainly will grow new opportunities and new projects in Poland in the wider context. So thank you very much from my side. This is a very important moment, and I look forward to the signature.
Dzień dobry Państwu. Ja chciałbym tylko przywitać Państwa serdecznie i powiedzieć,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to welcome you and say that this is a great honor to participate in this important event. The person responsible for the preparation, organization and conducting this program will be President Sebastian Dąbski, and I will hand over to him. Thank you very much for coming here and for being with us today. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, signing of the agreement between the Agency of Industry Development and European Space Agency will make it possible to create business incubation centers based on technological solutions from the space sector. This is a very important thing for us. Also, I want to say that the main advantage of ISA-BIC, or the key to success, is the excellent development path for startups. Startups have massive support in this program, support on the level of business, finance, technology, law, but not only. There are also very well organized ecosystems that enable not just attracting investors or business partners, but also potential future clients. On the Polish side, involved are several dozen entities. Several dozen entities are working on this. I thank you very much for your involvement. These are institutions from the world of science, business, local administration, and other institutions that wanted to be involved in the program and to work in it. If I may, I'd like to emphasize our partners, the Rzeszów Agency for Regional Development. Thank you very much for your involvement and for being with us. The Foundation of Technology Enterprise, thank you. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Development and Technology. We are in the building of this ministry. Thank you very much for having us. But first, I'd like to extend thanks to the director and thank the ISA and for this wonderful signing of this agreement. If I may add a couple of words from myself, maybe a little bit more personal. On this project, there was a lot of hard work, intensive work of the team of the Bureau of Technology Development from the Agency of Industry Development. Thank you for your work. The Bureau of Technology Development is headed by Director Paweł Pacek. Thank you.
So the contract is ready for signature, so I think we can go to this part. Yes, it's time for occasional photo. Thank you very much. Don't stay on the stage for a second, because we want to invite a few more people that were also important and make another photo with a larger group. You can go outside the table and just move it a little bit. So I would like to invite to stage people who are also very important for the project and for the success. From ESA side, I would like to invite Joanna Kamenova, Commercialization Officer and Technical Officers for ESA BIC Poland, and also Alicja Nicgorska, Assistant Contract Officer at ESA. From RPS side, I would like to invite Paweł Pacek, Director of the Technology Development Office, and also Bogusława Marszał, the Contract Officer for ESA BIC Poland. And I would like to also invite representative of the Ministry of Economic Development, Piotr Zabadała, Deputy Director of Innovation and Industry Policy Department. Yes, we can. And also Marta Kolibabska, Head of Space Policy Unit, and Łukasz Maciak, Chief Expert at Space Policy Unit. We can move, yes. Paweł, come on. Yes, we are all. Sorry. It's okay? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much one more time. Thank you. I had also, maybe not a very short list, but people who are not on the stage, but I would also like to thank them. Bartosz Sokoliński did something earlier, also by thanking lots of people that I would like to thank, but I have to do this, sorry. So I would like to thank all the RP team, especially Marzena Wydryszek, Michał Saczuk, Katarzyna Kuldat, and Paulina Krukiel. Also representatives of our main partners, it was also mentioned here, Magdalena Jabłońska, Foundation for Technology Entrepreneurship, thank you Magdalena. Barbara Kostyra from Rzeszów Regional Development Agency, she's somewhere here. Danuta Cichoń from Podkarpackie Województwo, Iwona Barszcz from Brain Embassy. And forgive me, I cannot list all of our partners. There are 27 institutions in 2 consortia. And additionally, I would like to thank to those who will not implement the project, but their contribution and willingness to establish the ESA BIC was very important. And here, Sebastian Kozakowski, Bartosz Sokoliński, and Michał Szaniawski, that were previously in Industrial Development Agency, and also our previous partners, Jarek Chojnacki from Krakow Technology Park, and Krzysztof Kanawka from Blue Dot Solution. Thank you very much. I have the impression that during the process of creation of ESA BIC Poland, quite a large community has been built around it. We can do small experiment. If any one of you was engaged or during the creation of ESA BIC Poland, you can raise your hand up, so don't be shy. Yes, you see how many people is there on the stage, and also the people who will for the future cooperation, they will also invited to raise their hands. So thank you very much. Maybe one additional announcement that this weekend we will change time in Poland, and this will be time for space startups. Thank you very much.
Dziękuję Michale za poprowadzenie
Thank you, Michał, for hosting this part of the conference. I'd like to thank you for your participation in this very important moment, the signing of the contract for ESA Business Incubation Center in Poland. Let it be the beginning of the new institution that will support young companies involved in a widely defined space industry. Now, a short break for rearranging this stage. And a short movie, 10 years of ESA.
Szanowni Państwo, proszę wygodnie usiąść i zapiąć pasy. Podróż po technologiach kosmicznych rozwijanych w Polsce zaraz się rozpocznie. 3, 2, 1. W pierwszej kolejności zatrzymamy się przy polskich rakietach suborbitalnych Perun i Bursztyn. Będą one mogły transportować towary w przestrzeń kosmiczną, umożliwiając na przykład badania naukowe w mikrograwitacji. Po wykonaniu zaplanowanej misji rakiety wrócą na Ziemię. Dzięki spadochronom miękko wylądują w określonym punkcie. W obu rakietach zastosowane są ekologiczne rozwiązania. Perun i Bursztyn posiadają napęd hybrydowy, który działa w oparciu o materiał pędny przyjazny dla naszej planety. Przenosimy się w tempie odrzutowym do powstających systemów satelitarnych oraz aplikacji do przetwarzania dużych zbiorów danych z obserwacji Ziemi. Polska pracuje nad własną konstelacją satelitów obserwacyjnych Mikroglob. By w pełni korzystać z ich potencjału, opracowuje Narodowy System Informacji Satelitarnej. Będzie on służył monitorowaniu naszego kraju i zwiększy wykorzystanie danych satelitarnych służących gospodarce i społeczeństwu. W polskim przemyśle kosmicznym kładziemy nacisk na niezawodność. Proszę zwrócić uwagę na zaawansowane oprogramowanie, testujące systemy i podsystemy obiektów wynoszonych na orbitę. Zabierzemy teraz Państwa do świata robotyki planetarnej i orbitalnej, w której specjalizuje się spora grupa rodzimych podmiotów. Opracowują one koncepcje, projektują i budują roboty, które biorą udział w misjach kosmicznych. Projekty, które zostały przez nie zrealizowane do tej pory, to urządzenia do zbierania próbek, testujące, podzespoły ramion robotów, modele matematyczne, systemy sterujące i wiele innych. Obszar aktywności polskiego sektora kosmicznego to pokaźna konstelacja mechatroniki, elektroniki i informatyki. Całą branżę w Polsce reprezentuje blisko 380 firm, ośrodków naukowych i grup badawczych. Wiele z nich jest beneficjentami i bezpośrednimi dostawcami Europejskiej Agencji Kosmicznej. Współpraca z ESA to nie tylko wsparcie finansowe i dostęp do infrastruktury agencji, ale także możliwość zdobycia cennego doświadczenia i zagranicznych kontraktów. Zmieniła się też skala i poziom naszego udziału w międzynarodowych misjach oraz projektach badawczych. Członkostwo w ESA stało się impulsem do powstania Polskiej Agencji Kosmicznej. Kosmos od wieków rozbudza ciekawość ludzi. Popycha do osiągania ambitnych celów, przekraczania kolejnych granic, zmieniania świata, jaki znamy. Stanisław Lem powiedział: nie chcemy zdobywać kosmosu, chcemy tylko rozszerzyć Ziemię do jego granic. W tej pasjonującej kosmicznej podróży ma swoje miejsce również Polska i technologie, które tworzy rodzimy sektor kosmiczny. Dziękujemy za wspólną podróż.
Państwo, przed nami
Ladies
ostatnia
and
część
gentlemen,
trwającej konferencji. Zapraszam
I
Państwa
now
na
open the last
dyskusję
session of
panelową na
today's
temat
conference.
startupów
I'd like
w
to invite
Polsce.
you to a panel
Moderatorem
discussion
dyskusji
about
będzie
panels.
znany już
Moderator
Państwu
will
Michał
be
Zwieduk z Agencji Rozwoju
Michał
Przemysłu.
Zwieduk
Zapraszam
of
ponownie
the
na scenę.
Agency of Industry Development. Michał, let me invite you to the stage.
Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much. The discussion panel will be in English, and I have also pleasure to moderate this part. We changed slightly the topic, or maybe it's more not so general as a startup in Poland. This will be how to use innovation created by space sector from startup to technology company. And I would like to invite to the stage one more time Joanna Kamenowa, ESA Commercialization Officer, working with ESA BIX and technology brokers. I would like to invite Paweł Kwiatkowski, General Manager at Apsiski Polska and also ESA Technology Broker in Poland. I would like to invite Ewelina Zaremba, this is change in the agenda, Project Manager at Scanway, a company which is specialized in design and implement vision system for industry and space. I would also like to invite Magdalena Jabłońska, President of the Board of Foundation for Technology Entrepreneurship, Coordinator of the Acceleration Program MIT Enterprise Forum CEE, and also ESA Big Plant Incubation Manager. And also I'd like to invite Krzysztof Kanawka, President of the Management Board of the Blue Dot Solution Company, a company that implements one of the most successful Polish acceleration program, Space3EC. Okay, we're all on the board. I will start with some individual questions, but of course, if you want, you can join the discussion. I will start with Joanna. One of the ESA priorities is to boost commercialization in the European space sector. And there are a few tools to achieve this goal. This includes also the ESA Technology Broker, ESA Business Application Ambassador, and just established in Poland, ESA BIC Poland. But these are the initiatives that in Europe, they work for a very long time. And how they correspond to the new initiatives, I will not mention them, but there are lots of new initiatives from ESA and how they correspond with the older one that we have.
Thank you very much, Michał. Quite a big and encompassing question. I would like to take the opera even further, maybe 15 years old. So how are these new tools fitting in this new context of commercialization? So of course these tools are evolving, they're existing, but within the new Directorate of Commercialization and the new program that is being proposed, we heard about it yesterday, Scale-Up. They're getting some additional elements and they're adapting more and more to the sector and to the needs of the market. We have 1,200 startups already, but we have seen a big evolution. So in the beginning, the cases were mostly technology transfer. So this is how the ESA BIC started. Then with the advent of Galileo, Copernicus, the shift moved towards downstream. So we had downstream companies focusing on navigation solutions and Earth observation. And now we can see more and more upstream, the spinning. So these companies that are super interesting at the moment, we had 10% of them in our overall portfolio a couple of years ago, and now we are growing towards 15. So these are some of the ones that we would also focus under Scale-Up. How can we support more of these? Downstream applications probably are not so intensive in terms of capital, but launching a rocket or creating a new propulsion system might involve more financing. So these are some of the things that we are looking to do and evolve the ESA BICs under Scale-Up. Also looking at services for pre-incubation, after incubation. Of course, this is the evolution. So this is the evolution and how we fit within commercialization. But we do have completely new elements. So these are also very interesting. One of them is the PhilLab. And you may be familiar with the PhilLab in Esrin. This is an established PhilLab by ESA looking at disruptive innovation in Earth observation. So following this very successful model, we are looking to roll out a number of PhilLabs across Europe to explore these disruptive innovation domains, not necessarily in Earth observation, but perhaps in other domains like quantum or even maritime or AI, so different domains within the different countries. And these are kind of adjacent to the ESA BICs. So they could be researchers performing research that could then go into a business incubation center as a company. Or it could be an established company that is actually looking to branch out and to do some innovation themselves. So it could also be one avenue. And of course, our ESA BIC startups and startups within Europe require more and more capital. So the last element of this new commercialization landscape is the invest element. So how can we build a network of investors that can be around the startups? How can we accelerate further the progression? And this is an endeavor that my colleagues are leading on. I think they already have 18 investors that they're starting to work with and to build this network. So in summary, we usually start with the 3 enablers for commercialization, which are talent, speed, and also capital. So the talent here, of course, it's, namely, the ESA BIC managers, the ESA technology brokers, but also all of you, all the companies that are working on these solutions. The speed is sometimes the ESA procurement. how can we place contracts faster, in more agile way. And I'm really happy that we have here today our colleagues also from procurement, also joining us for the signature. And the last one, of course, it's capital. Whether this is from ESA or private investment, just to boost even more and to be competitive, not only on a European, but also on a global level.
Okay, so I hope that also in the near future we have new ESA regional locations in Poland, so the Philips, yes, in the near future, not only the ESA BIC and ESA Broker, but more of them.
Certainly, we would be happy to join you for the opening of new locations. I think also it was always the intention to have multiple locations. I think usually it's a big start with one. You're already ahead because you're starting with 2. But let's see, that's a challenge for you. How can you grow in this?
Let's comment to you, Krzysztof. Growing the ESA BIC. Okay, I will just go to Paweł, as we're speaking about the ESA initiative. So you're the ESA Technology Broker, and also APSYS-Key is the ESA Business Application Ambassador. And you were established almost a year ago. And what are your experience and the success stories at the time?
Okay, so maybe, can you hear me? Okay,
yes.
Now it's okay. So maybe before I will answering to your question, maybe just I will give you just a few information about this, who we are, because I think this is also very important. We have a lot of meetings with you, but maybe this is also a good place. So I would like to say that the main mission of the broker, of the technology transfer broker, is to create a link between the space and the non-space sector. I think this is very important for us. This link is, from the one side, is the create of the business relation between the sectors, and also from the second side is to create the technology transfer from the space to the non-space. So I think it's not, the creation of the transfer from the satellites, but this is the concrete technology transfer. I think also what is here, what is very, very important, that we also create. We can support not only the mature, the well-established companies, but also the young companies. So I think this is also very, very important. So also this is a good place because here also we started the ESA BIC. So this is also very good. The role of the ambassador, mainly we can say that we have 3 points. The first one is that the ambassador is a national contact point for the companies. So the ambassador can give you the knowledge about the projects, about the financing programs. The ambassador is also a kind of bridge between the European Space Agency, between the member states, and also between the industry. And the third point, I think, which is very important, so is that the ambassador can support you to create your ideas, to find a good program, a financing program, to help you to write the first ideas, first pages of these ideas, can review the proposal. So I think this is also very important. So if you have any interesting ideas, so just find us and we can help you in this. Coming back to your question, I would like to say that yes, now we are in month 8 because we started end of February. So I can say that during this period we had a lot of interesting meetings. We took a part in a lot of interesting conferences. And to be honest, I am in a very big shock what was happened during the last month. I think even I didn't expect that that big number of the companies had a contact with us. So I think this is very important. We are at the beginning. We are in the first stage, in the first step of this nice adventure with the ESA brokers and ambassadors. So during this time, I think we organized more than 140 meetings with the companies from the different kind of sectors. from the space sectors and also from the non-space. So I think this is also very important that now we have the first nice network. So we can also bring you this network. We can help you to find potential partners, even to the projects. So I think this is the first nice step. We also organize a lot of workshops, a lot of meetings. So this is also a part of the communication dissemination, I think, for all of you. From the broker side, now we can say that, of course, we do not have now this a big, nice technology transfer in Poland, but definitely I am sure, and I am very optimistic, but I am sure that very soon we will have this first transfer of the technology in Poland, and then very soon we could also bring you and also give you this information that, you know, we have the first success story in Poland. So I know that in Europe, in our colleagues, we have a lot of nice success stories, and you can also find all this information on the European Space Agency website. So then you can also find what kind of success story do we have. So definitely, I think, you know, this is the first step, and in the next year we could say something more. From the ambassador side, so I can say, because Martyna, as ambassador, she sent me definitely some KPIs, and I need to, you know, just to tell you, because during just this, you know, 8 months, she organized 2 trainings, courses related to the preparation of the proposal. So I think this is also very important, because you can also be a part of this, so you can get this knowledge. She also supported the 8 companies in the preparation of the 10 projects application for ESA. She also conducted about 100 individual meetings with the potential applicants. So this is a lot of work. You need to spend a lot of time. And it's not just in 15 minutes, but it's also sometimes 30, 1 hour, even more. So I think, you know, this is a good example. She also built an ecosystem of the technology recipients, the end users, and also we have currently 12 recipients from Poland and abroad. And what is important, she also took a part in 15 online and on-site events. So this is, I think, very, very nice work. So I hope next year, definitely we would like to present you and very, very nice success stories, and also maybe some of these companies, they will also get the projects, and they could also, you know, give you some nice information about this. So I think this is everything from my side. I would like to say only that, you know, on the Polish market, we have 2 brokers. So this is Jarosław Chojnacki from the Kraków Technology Park. I am also a broker, and from the ambassador, this is Martyna Gatkowska and also Ania Mironczuk. So we are from Apsiski Polska. So if you would like to have more information, just, you know, we can discuss about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very promising, because cooperation between us will be beneficial. For example, definitely. Also for the ESA-BIC as a future startup that want to apply to ESA-BIC Poland. So your successes are also very good for us.
That's why I'm very happy that, you know, this is the 2022. I think this is the European Space Agency year in Poland. So because we have this, you know, brokers and ambassador, and finally we have ESA-BIC. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I will go through now to the ESA-BIC Incubation Center. And one of our ESA-BIC managers will be, or is, Magda. You have large experience by carrying out the MIT Enterprise Forum Accelerator. And how do you feel about this new chapter? This is a different topic. It's not acceleration, it's incubation, and also a very specific sector.
Yes, thank you, Michał. Thank you, and that's a great pleasure to be here and eventually to see that this agreement is signed and we can start. And I also want to before I go forward with my answer, thank you, Ilona, and thank you, Julia. I don't know if Julia is still there, for your great support. A while ago, we were preparing this concept of ESA-BIC Poland with the engagement of our organization quite a few months, let's say not years, but now it starts. And when talking about what's the difference between acceleration, we are doing, this is the 7th year of our existence in a Polish market. So the acceleration, we mainly focus on product market fit moment for the technology and for the company. So we very much focus on to final verification of business model, but how it works for technology recipients or for investors. While in incubator, we will focus, and thanks to support of our partners who are able to support product development phase, which is super important for this industry. And at the same time, we will support and we will use our experience in this business modeling of such, which is super crucial when talking about technology transfer. And what's even let's say the factor that will be a success factor for all this project will be how big ecosystem and how effective ecosystem we are able to create here in Poland. So, because I really, it's a thing of how people will collaborate with each other. And I'm super happy that you are here because you are the people that I want to work with. I mentioned those two girls before. They supported my start with this project very much, and they will still support because they are now representing also the ecosystem players. And I believe that the more ecosystem players will emerge and they will become partners of this project and they will enable this product development. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So this is very much about the ecosystem and about organizing this ecosystem from technology brokers through incubation, through acceleration, and of course, finance need to be there as well.
Thank you very much. So staying in the topic of acceleration, Krzysztof, your acceleration program was the first one and very successful one, strictly connected with the Polish space startups. During the time you change a little bit the scope of the program, now you attract the startups from abroad to Poland. And how do you think, does the Polish startup market, if I can say like that, is large enough to fulfill this 7 places in 2 cities each year? Is it the right number that we are looking for, or we should do more, or also the quality of the startup will be good enough for this project?
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. And unfortunately, I will try to answer in such a way that with high probability, it might happen that there might be a large number of startups which will be good enough for the ISABIC, but there is also non-zero probability that the quality of those startups might not be good enough, or there might be some certain different factors that will not allow or will not make those startups good enough to participate in ISABIC Poland. Let's take a look at the technology readiness level scale, for example, the way the technology is being organized in case of startups and technologies in Europe. Not all of them might be good enough to qualify and to be interesting enough for the incubation. There might be some additional steps on some of the way. Maybe they will have to do some additional homework before they might be good enough for ISABIC. On second hand, there might be always a question about how exactly does the startup approach the topic. Do they approach it, for example, from the market side, and they see really that there is a need that is already existing on the market, where definitely the startup could provide a nice product or service where they could spread, they could develop, and they could attract more investors and simply grow. Or maybe on the other side, they might be developing some kind of a technology that might not be good enough right now for the market. Maybe the market is not there. Maybe it will not be there even in 10 years. So this will be a good question for evaluators from ISABIC, just to understand whether this startup is really interesting to work on that way. And perhaps finally, the last question will be, the last answer to this question might be coming from a perspective of what kind of alternatives could be given to startups and which way they could develop. If not, ISABIC will be the best interesting thing. Let's remember that in case of Poland, we have several different programs made by some industries. Maybe some industries will grow up and they will be interested also to start cooperating with startups. So I would say that ISABIC is super important for the part of related to space sector and space technologies, also for the applications. However, it might be also a good idea to see how what the interaction and to create the interaction with industries, with other potential initiatives, so that more startups will be successful and more startups will grow past the dev valley when it comes to the development.
Thank you very much. In case of the evaluation process, we have also ESA on board, and their experience on lots of startups incubated during all the process of the other ISABICs. So I hope this will be very helpful. And yes, I agree that there is a lot of work also from our side in this project to animate the universities, institutes, or some other organization that might be possible source of startups in the future incubation. And I want to just change the perspective from the acceleration program to the company that goes through all the stages from the student project to the technology company, which Scanway now is. And I want to ask Ewelina, how do you think did you lack any kind of support during the process of development of the company? And if there was ISABIC at the time that you were developing, would it be useful or not exactly?
I think it will be definitely useful. If not for Scanway, then definitely for our colleagues, because even now we know a lot of people with great ideas, but we also have to remember that not only people that have experience in student space projects, YGT and so on, can have great ideas for our industry. And ISABIC, I think it will be excellent open door for them to make their ideas into reality. Actually, people that created Scanway, that started Scanway, had experiences in Rexus Bexus campaigns, but as a students. So then Scanway finally happened when we gained support from National Center of Research and Development, and this was first step to finally work on our feet in space projects, but still we had to support, to boost our development with clients from outside of space industry to make our projects happen. So I think it would be very useful to have ISABIC before. We were stubborn and we make our dreams happen, but a lot of people could be lost and gave up on dreams. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I can't wait to see what we will have in our industry in a few years with this initiative.
So I have to say sorry that it took us so long to establish the ISABIC Poland in your case, but now we start. Okay, and some maybe more general question to all of you regarding the ecosystem of startups in Poland, because there's a large number of institutions that support not only space but also non-space startup mainly. And do you think there is a lack of some kind of institution that should, on a different stage, support the startup? I don't know, it's pre-incubation, or maybe there are few acceleration program, but maybe there's something missing in the ecosystem that should be also taken into account.
Personally, I feel that there's a big gap when it comes to pre-commercial orders or demonstrations or prototypes which could be tested and validated in, let's say, cities, in, let's say, operational environment, within the industries and so on. This is definitely missing, and taking into consideration what's happening in other European countries, for sure such a thing would be very, very useful, and also would give a kind of additional credibility to all those startups, because they could say, our technology is there, it's already validated, it's already working, we have already some customers, and we have already adjusted some of our products to be better, to be more fitting to the market, especially when you go way beyond business to customer and typical business to business activities.
I had to add that, for example, the approach of ESA is that the incubation process is also the procurement process, some kind of procurement process. That ESA is the first client for the startup for their future product or the thing they're developing. Do anyone want to that's, yes, Joanna?
Yeah, so maybe I will maybe refer to a couple of points that you mentioned. So also before answering the question, Christoph, you mentioned the TRL levels, the technology readiness levels, and these are of course very important element within the incubation. But also they're 1 out of 5. So I think the incubation is quite a comprehensive evaluation, and we look at the team, we look at the technology. Of course, it has to be sound. There has to be a space connection, but we also look at the business model, as you mentioned, and the market. Is there a market potential? Is there a market need? And you know how the activity is structured and so on. But in a sense, it's more about the company and nurturing this company. And sometimes we see that, a great team might actually convince us, and then at some point they may pivot or something else may happen. To what you said, it's quite interesting that, yes, we want to keep the imagination in Poland, right? We want to keep the Polish entrepreneurs closer and contribute in this way. And then to your question on what is missing, well, I think until now it was a key piece around the ISA BIC, but now you would start realizing, is it more the pre-incubation phase to feed our pipeline? Is it acceleration? The facilities, it's a super important point because also you're supposed to provide the facilities and technical support within the national landscape, but also on a European level, you have reached now to ISA facilities or ISA technical support. So hopefully this will start slowly filling in some of the gaps. Well, maybe not so slow. Maybe we would expect it to be quite fast. But yes, a little bit in this context.
And some of them are connecting rather by the industrial parks or universities. Our incubator has a lot of partners, but in Poland there is no such large institution connected with, for example, space technology. Of course, there's CBK, but not as large as, for example, DLR or CNES. Do you see the difference between this ESA BIC and their performance later after the establishment? Maybe what is the best partner to start the ESA BIC with? I know that it's too late to ask this question in our case, but we work in the environment that we have here. Yes, so.
No, that's super interesting. Of course, some countries would have space agencies which are more involved, or some countries will have more of business agencies that are more involved. I wouldn't say that one is better than the other, actually, because you might have a very strong space heritage, and then this is great, and then the incubator has to work a bit more to bring in new business actors, or you might be very strong in the business sense, and then okay, if you might have to develop your space angle a little bit more. In Hungary, our partner Design Terminal, it's straight on the incubation, so they're learning a little bit more on space. They're reaching out to ESA space experts. In the UK, we have Science Technology Facilities Council. Well, they're very strong with facilities. It's in the name. But then they start reaching out to business expertise. So I guess you're now part of the ISA BIC network, so you could also collaborate across the network to gain some of the skills that you may think are more missing, or you would like to be better at this.
Magda, yes?
I think that we managed to create at least initiate ecosystem which is quite mixed. So we have both kind of partners, and I believe this is the method that we should follow.
Healthy one. Okay, I will ask for some final comment because we are finishing the time maybe a little bit later. So if you want, please. If not, we will finish the panel at the time. Okay, so thank you very much one more time. Joanna Kamenowa, Paweł Kwiatkowski, Ewelina Zaręba, Magdalena Jagbońska, and Krzysztof Kanawka. Thank you very much. Bardzo dobrze.
Bardzo dziękuję wszystkim panelistom za wzięcie udziału w dyskusji.
I'd like to thank all the panelists for the discussion, and I'd like to thank the moderator for moderating it so efficiently. And we are approaching the last item on the agenda of this two-day conference. And to the stage, I'd like to invite Madam Minister Kamila Król, who shall close the conference officially. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, time flies. Not so long ago, I was standing here and opening this conference, and now I am closing it. I believe that 2 days of the conference have shown us all how important for the development of economy is innovative activity, or maybe first of all, international cooperation. How important international cooperation is, because without it, the progress wouldn't be so quick. First, I'd like to extend my thanks. The thanks already began during the panel, so to continue on the thank yous, I'd like to thank all the participants of this conference. First of all, the representatives of the European Space Agency, with Josef Aschbacher, Director General, at its lead, and all the employees of the European Space Agency, representatives of the European Commission, representatives of the Polish Space Agency, Professor Grzegorz Wrochna, all the MPs, and also the Association of Employers of the Space Sector. Special thanks are due for Director Zabadawa, Deputy Director in the Department of Innovation and Industrial Policy, which I supervise, for the efficient actions and excellent organization. All employees of the Space Policy Department. During the panel, we talked a lot about knowledge and experience, about expertise, about the strength of the experts who make our economy stronger. And the Ministry of Development of Technology, in the Department of Space Policy, we have on board a person who is now working on his implementation PhD on Earth observation. So in the state administration, we also have many experts, which makes me very proud. Moving on.
Conference was a wonderful opportunity to tell you about the most important successes connected with Poland membership in ESA, but also about the challenges that we are facing and will be facing. It was also a great opportunity to familiarize with the program offer of the European Space Agency to start and also foster the contact with many people. Since the beginning of our cooperation with ESA, the Ministry of Development and Technology has been supporting the development of space sector in Poland, which is a great tool for innovation, development, for economy progress, as well as for the public administration. With the help of ESA and cooperation with ESA, as a professor during the panel said, that we are part of ESA and we should be proud of that, and we should work even more on developing new technologies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another important element today, the second day of conference, was the signing of the contract for ESA BIC Poland, so incubation center. I am very proud that the Ministry of Technology can co-finance this venture that applies to the development of space startups in Poland. I hope that we will not have to wait too long to see the outcomes of that. In the end, I would like to thank once again all the participants for being so active during our event. I'd like to thank all the panelists who supported us with their expertise. And I would also like to thank all the organizers of this event. Thank you very much.
Bardzo dziękuję pani minister
Thank
za
you,
oficjalne
Madam
zakończenie
Minister, for
konferencji. Szanowni
official
państwo,
closing of the
dostojni goście, nie
conference.
pozostaje mi nic
Ladies and
innego, jak
gentlemen,
w imieniu
distinguished guests,
organizatorów Ministerstwa
on
Rozwoju i
behalf of the
Technologii,
organizers,
Polskiej Agencji
Ministry of
Kosmicznej oraz
Technology,
Związku
Police Space
Pracodawców
Agency,
Sektora
and this
Kosmicznego, podziękować
Association of
państwu za
Employers
udział
in
w
Space
konferencji.
Sector.
10 lat
I would like to
Polski
thank you
wczoraj,
for
dzisiaj
your
i
participation
jutro. Za te 2
in the
dni
conference 10
rozmów,
years of Poland in
podsumowania na
ESA,
temat
yesterday,
osiągnięć
today,
polskiego
tomorrow. For
sektora
those 2 days
kosmicznego,
for
a także
wrapping up
jego
the
przyszłości.
achievements of Poland in
Dziękuję
space sector
gościom,
and for talking about
panelistom, a
its
także
future.
licznej
I'd like to thank the guests,
dyrektorów z
the
Europejskiej Agencji
panelists and the
Kosmicznej.
representation
Nasze
of
spotkanie dobiega
ESA in
końca,
Poland.
ale
Our
jest
meeting
początkiem
is
nie
coming
tylko
to an
dyskusji
end, but
o
this
tym,
is
co
the
chcielibyśmy
beginning of the
osiągnąć
discussion
za
about
kolejne
what we would like
10
to
lat,
achieve
ale
in
także
the coming
konkretnego
10
działania.
years, but
Dzisiejsze
also
podpisanie umowy o
we face the
utworzenie
concrete
ESA jest jednym
activities.
z
Today's signing
przykładów
of the
takiego
contract for
działania,
ESA Big
ale warto
Poland
też
is one of the
wspomnieć,
examples
że
of such activities, but it is
niebawem
worth
Polska
mentioning
będzie
that
także
very
gospodarzem
soon
dwóch
Poland
dużych formatów
will become the
Europejskiej
host
Stolicy
of 2
Młodzieży
big
w Lublinie w
formats,
roku
European
2023
Capital
oraz
City of Youth
Europejskiego
in
Miasta
Lublin in
Nauki w Katowicach w
2023
roku
and European
2024.
Science City
Oba
in
wydarzenia są
2024 in
przedmiotem rozmów
Katowice.
pomiędzy
Both events
Polską a
are being
Europejską Agencją
discussed
Kosmiczną,
between
także z
Poland
udziałem
and
Polskiej Agencji
ESA.
Kosmicznej.
Also,
To doskonała okazja
Polsa
o
is
to, aby zadbać o
participating
przyszłe
in
pokolenia
those talks. This is the
sektora
great
kosmicznego,
opportunity to
zarówno
take care
polskiego,
of
jak i europejskiego.
future generations of
Bardzo dziękuję.
Polish and
Tych z państwa,
European
którzy są z
space
nami,
sector. I'd like to
zapraszam
thank
na
everyone. Those of you who are
w
here
trakcie
in
którego w
the
sposób
room with us,
nieformalny możemy
I would like to
porozmawiać o
invite to a
szczegółach
lunch and the
dotyczących
opportunity to
działania
have some
kosmicznego na
informal
kolejną
talks about
dekadę.
the space
Dziękuję i
in the
do
next
zobaczenia. Mam
decades.
nadzieję, że
Thank you
za
so
czas
much
krótszy
and I
niż
hope to
10 lat.
see you
Dziękuję.
soon, sooner than in 10 years. Thank you very much.